guys, I'm watching the Nancy Guthrie case. I've been following it. I don't know if you have. Um, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. Well, once you do know, you'll see that it's everywhere. It's an awful case. An 84-year-old lady in America, in Tucson, was kidnapped, and it's 42 days as of today, on March the 19th. It's so sad. I have very mixed feelings and opinions. I think that the YouTube are doing a wonderful case. You know, we've got like JLR, who's doing fantastic work out there. He's left today, and I don't blame him, but some YouTubers are going far and beyond to kind of gaslight the audience in their podcasts, I think, to get attention on. It's bullying, really, because before the media, if it was in a school playground and stuff, it would be bullying. So, you know, and they're outside the house of who now the sheriff there has said are victims, although I don't agree that he has ruled anybody out until they find Nancy's body. I also don't agree with YouTubers outside somebody's house, that's their personal space, and bringing the whole world's attention to where they live and really putting them down. You know, if they've got nothing to do with this case and they are victims, then you're causing a lot of damage, and for the rest of their life, really. So I think we need to be careful and draw a line when we're doing YouTubing and building ourselves up, to be respectful of people. And we are not the people that decide who might be involved or not. We need to be doing this cleanly, because we can leave and go home, and the poor people that are victims. Now, Annie, it's her mother that has gone missing. Her sister, who lives in New York, is a journalist, a well-famous journalist. Nancy's their mother, and Annie's husband is to Moscow, and they have been absolutely in the beginning, because obviously they were the last people to see Nancy, naturally, because when you have an elderly mother, if they don't live with you, they live near you. One of the children will just, you know, my sister does live near my mum. Well, she's in a care home now. We did it as long as we could, but I don't live there. But, you know, usually one of you decide who's going to live near your parent. And when you do, you take a lot of the responsibility of being the sole caregiver. Absolutely natural on a Sunday evening that Nancy would be with her family. I think they played cards and had a meal. But I feel for the family. They've got a young boy, and how does that child feel? He's lost his grandma. So please, guys, have some empathy. Whatever your opinion is, keep it, you know, to your heart, to yourself. You don't need to be bullying people behind a keyboard. I've discovered this wonderful lady. She's got a podcast called Break the Case with Jennifer Cofferdaffer, but they call her Jen. So Break the Case with Jen Coffender. So this is courtesy of her. She's ex-FBI. She's a wonderful lady. I really love following her because she's just so humble and empathetic. So shout out to her if she ever sees me do this. I hope she doesn't mind me covering a clip from her video, because, you know, there's a lot of negativity and not much positivity. So I just wanted to be a voice with her and kind of raise that and say, you know, let's be gentle on these people. They've lost somebody and they don't know what's happened to her. I'm just going to play a clip of what Jennifer or Jen thinks, because I think she said it so beautifully. Here we go, guys. Please like and subscribe over to her channel, because she's wonderful in all the work that she does. She does other cases, and I believe she's going to be doing a case with one of her dear friends or old colleagues. I'm not sure, sorry, but I know she mentioned the other day that she's going to be doing some more crime cases with somebody going forward, and she will be a wonderful person to follow. You will enjoy her very much. If you watch, Jen, shout out to you. God bless you. And here's a short clip from that.
Utah, New Mexico, Montana. No, 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 no. New York, Florida. No, no. They chose states that somehow their investigation is tied to. And I have to kind of get a little smile on my face because I think it's so interesting that, of course, all the social media folks and all the mainstream media folks have been camped out now for weeks, for some 40 days or more, at Nancy's home and at Annie's home. Not so much Annie's anymore, although I just saw, unfortunately, a stream of someone there, and Tommaso comes out and says, "Can you please just," I don't know what he says, but I think he says, from what I can hear, is, "What are you doing here?" I think. And then Tommaso says that. And then the guy says something like, "Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the street." I really probably should post that. And then he ends up leaving. And the guy's so excited. "Oh, I saw Tommaso Cioni." Tommaso Cioni is a victim. Tommaso Cioni loved Nancy. Tommaso Cioni has nothing to do with the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. Nothing. Savannah Guthrie, if you're to believe Megyn Kelly and Megyn Kelly's sources and her affiliations, is reporting that Savannah Guthrie is absolutely livid and incensed that people are going and still going after uh, Tommaso Cioni and Annie. She's livid about it. She stopped short, Megyn Kelly stopped short of saying whether she knows whether they're going to sue or not. And I don't know what they will do. I think a lot of it will depend on what damages they can show, damages to their reputation, damages, because that's really what it comes down to when so many people are defamed. Look, all the people on YouTube that are defamed and mainstream media that are defamed, lies that are told about them, negative uh, words that are said about so many people that are absolutely just false. And so, certainly, people, if they are in any sort of public view, are defamed often. People just like to do that, especially when they can sit behind their keyboard unidentified and say a lot of really nasty stuff and just get it out to the ether. So, when you think about that, though, uh, the point is when it comes to this case, again, there's no information that Tommaso and Annie have done anything. And the question is, how has it affected their life? How has it affected their reputation? Will it continue to persist? Can there be a direct nexus between being accused of basically being a murderer over and over again? I mean, it's still happening. It's all over the place. You can just look. Um, if that is affecting their work, is that affecting, Tommaso's job as a teacher? Is that affecting his mental health? He took down all his socials, so we know that it closed him in. A lot of people love their socials. Imagine if all of a sudden you couldn't use YouTube, or you couldn't listen to your favorite podcast necessarily, or you couldn't interact on Facebook with the people you want to listen to because you don't want to be seen up there. I guess you could still listen to a podcast without being seen as long as you didn't make a comment. But nevertheless, or not being, being trapped in your home, knowing that if you go out in where you've grown up around and where you are currently living, meaning Annie grew up there, and you can't go out into public because you might be called a murderer. Listen, we saw it we're seeing it right now still in John O'Keefe case, right? Those poor witnesses, they can't go anywhere. They can't go to a food court and just have a burger without being screamed and yelled at and called murderer. It's unbelievable what is still going on in that case. But nevertheless, is that what Annie and Tommaso are also experiencing? Then you can start proving damages. So it'll be interesting to see if some of these really loud YouTube voices, some of these accounts with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, and even if they don't have hundreds of thousands of followers, this one account doesn't have hundreds of thousands of followers, but he has millions and millions of views when he goes after Tommaso and Annie, not when he does anything else. But if he goes after Tommaso and Annie, so it's clear to me why he's doing it. It'll be interesting to see. You know, we saw that huge $10 million award for the TikToker that relentlessly accused a college professor of killing the Idaho 4 kids, Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee, right? He went totally after them, after that person. And that person had just had enough. And they were able to prove how much that damaged their reputation and how many millions of views that TikToker got. Really, not because they had any evidence, but just because it's fun for them. You know, by the way, just to be crystal clear, the car has been returned. I said that I called and they had said they were returning it. They had to fix it first because they tore it apart, trying to make sure they weren't involved or that they were involved, trying to prove one way or the other any nexus. So in any event, I just wanted to mention about these billboards that I know I lost the side of my glasses. What I just cannot wrap my head around is there is absolutely no reason why Porch Guy's face is not on these billboards. It absolutely makes no sense to me. I fail to understand why they would put Nancy's face on there, except for I do agree it's important for them to understand, people to understand what's happened. But the big face on here should be Porch Guy. Because I can tell you, the abductors, if they took her to Texas, if they took her to California, if they took her someplace else in Arizona, if they crossed the border with her, her face was never seen. In my view, she would have been covered up with those items in that very full backpack that Porch Guy had. Because under the belief she was alive, which I believe she still would have been alive at this point, early on, she's a tough woman. Anything you read about Nancy Guthrie, she was tough, mentally great constitution. And, you know, mental power is really strong. So we have no reason to believe, we know she was hurt, but you don't see blood all over the place. You know, there's no spatter as if she was brutalized on that porch. We don't know about what happened inside, obviously. But if we're to believe she was taken alive initially, then if we're to follow that premise and they ended up taking her, they would have wanted to hood her so they wouldn't see what car she was going to be put in. They would have wanted to gag her. And that's why I don't believe that blood is aspirated blood at all. I believe that blood are the drops, and then when it drops, it fans out. I want to show you another picture in case you weren't on with us about what happens to a blood droplet when it hits. Got a really good picture here, and actually I'll bring up again a picture of this spatter. So here is a picture of what blood looks like when it hits. Just a droplet when it goes down and hits. You see how it makes all that fine spatter? You can imagine it hits and spatters. So you see this fine situation. And again, this is just my opinion. It's shared with many other people. Other people have looked at it, and then there's many other quote unquote experts that think that this is her. Oops, I have too many on here. Let me get rid of one here. It's really frustrating. So when you do these studios, you can only put up so many pictures in a session, 10, and I obviously had more than 10. So let me get this one up though, because this is actually from the porch. Here it is. So I just want you to draw reference to this. This is the area a lot of people are saying where she spit or coughed up blood. Now, believe me, if that's the case, I'm thrilled, because then we have definite proof. And I know there's a couple of really, individuals who know a lot that say that, and they're not blood spatter expert. None of us are. We just can go by what we see. Dale Lundberg, who's been at hundreds of sites of deaths and has seen spatter versus droplets, he believes, as I do, that this is from the drop of the blood dropping. And then, as I've commented at the beginning, I think as she turns, as the person turns with her and shuts those doors, that she's here for, a couple of seconds, which causes this dripping to be in this place. Google Trends, I want to talk to everybody. I brought up, in every case I do Google Trends. I did it on Brian Koberger very early on. Talked about how somebody was Googling Brian Koberger before anybody knew the name Brian Koberger, because I believed it was Brian Koberger. So we did a whole Google Trends on that. Also really did one strongly on